Hello everyone. So today we'll be looking into the topic of module 5. First, the topic or chapter name is data flow, radio resource management and mobility management. So here we'll be studying the topics such as PDCP overview, MAC or RLC overview, RRC overview, mobility management, intercell interference coordination. So in the previous chapters we had described about physical layer procedures. So in this chapter we'll describe higher layer protocols and mobility management in LTE, radio resource management and intercell interference mitigation techniques also will be discussed. So before we move into higher layer protocol, we need to first understand the concept of bearer for quality of service control and protocol for architecture of the LTE. So in the data flow services in LTE, we know that LTE is a packet switch network from end to end, which is mainly designed for high-speed data services. So to efficiently support the varying quality of service requirement of different IP or internet protocol applications, this LTE uses a concept of bearer as a central element of quality of service requirements, such that for different applications of QoS as per the applications. So here each EPS, what we call as Evolved Packet System Bearer for short, is defined between the packet data network gateway and the user equipment, and this mainly maps to a specific set of quality of service parameters, which are nothing but data rate, latency, packet error rate, etc. So these applications with very different quality of service requirement, such as if we consider email, voice, which can be put on separate bearers that will allow the system to simultaneously meet their quality of requirements which are considered. So here the end-to-end connectivity which we consider is through the network is made via bearer service as well as the bearer service architecture, which is shown in the figure. Now this particular figure is nothing but EPS or Evolved Packet System Bearer Service Architecture. Now here you can see this Evolved Packet Service Bearer. It has to cross multiple interface, and across each interface it is mapped to a transport layer bearer. Now if you consider the first, that is S5 bar S8 bearer, it transports the packets of an EPS bearer between a serving gateway, that is SGW, and a PDN gateway. That is, you can see here, this particular EPS bearer has to be transmitted. So the S5 bar S8 bearer, it will transport the packet of this EPS bearer between the serving gateway as well as the PDN gateway. Similarly, S1 bearer transport the packet of EPS bearer service between E node as well as the serving gateway. So over the radio interface, the bearer is referred, if you are using in the radio interface, so over the radio interface the bearer is referred to as radio bearer, which transfers the data between user equipment and EUTRAN. So signaling radio bearer or the signaling radio bearers or SRBs carry the radio resource control signal message, while data radio bearers, that is DRBs, carry the user plane data. So signaling radio bearers, it will mainly carry the radio resource controls, whereas the data radio bearers will carry the user plane data. So radio bearers are mainly mapped to logical channels through the layer 2 protocols. So next is what I have told you, that is over the radio interface, the bearer is referred to as radio bearer, which mainly transfers the data between user equipment and EUTRAN. There are two types of radio interface: signaling radio bearers, data radio bearers. If it is signaling radio bearers, it will carry radio resource control signaling messages. Similarly, data radio bearers, it will carry the user plane data. So this radio bearers are mapped to the logical channels through layer 2 protocols. Now this bearer service, These are mainly broadly classified into two classes. So first class is called as guaranteed bit rate or GBR bearers. Now these bearers define and guarantee mainly minimum bit rate that is available to the user equipment. Similarly, bit rates higher than the minimum bit rate can be allowed if radio resources or resources are available. This GBR, that's guaranteed bitrate bearers, are typically used for applications such as YOK, or it is called as voice, streaming video and real-time gaming. This is not a YOK, it should be voice. The second type which we have in this is non-GBR bearers. Now these bearers do not define or guarantee a minimum bitrate. This will actually define and give you a guarantee of minimum bitrate to the user equipment, whereas non-GBR will do not define or guarantee a minimum bitrate to the user equipment. So the achieved bitrate depends on the system load, number of user equipment served by the eNode B and the scheduling algorithm. So non-GBR bearers are used for applications such as web browsing, email, file transfer protocol, P2P file sharing. Now next is EPS bearer architecture, or if we call it as Evolved Packet System Bearer Service Architecture. So here each bearer is associated with a Quality of Service Class Identifier, which is called as QCI, which indicates the priority, packet delay budget, acceptable packet error loss rate and GBR or non-GBR classification. So the 9 standardized QCI defined in the LTA, which you can see in the figure. So these are the 9 different standardized quality of service class identifiers. So here one EPS bearer is established when the user equipment connects to packet data network. Now here if you see, this resource type is GBR, GBR, GBR and rest all will be non-GBR. So this is the priority based which is given. Packet delay budget is also mentioned for each cases with respect to packet error loss rate. Now there are different examples for the services which are provided. This is conversational voice, conversational video, real-time gaming, non-conversational video, IMS signaling, video, voice, video, which is based on TCP base. So these different example of the services which can be provided for particular resource type based on the priority with packet delay budget as well as packet error loss rate. Now next is in this error bearer service or in this EPS bearer service architecture, here one EPS, that is one Evolved Packet Service or System Bearer, is established when the user equipment connects to a PDN. Now when it connects to this packet data network, and there has to be a PDN connection to provide the user equipment with always on internet protocol connectivity to the PDN. This is called as a default bearer, or default bearer is nothing but EPS bearer is established throughout the lifetime of the PDN connection, mainly to provide the user equipment with always on. That means your internet protocol connectivity should be always on to that PDN. There is one more called as dedicated bearer, where the core network handles the establishment and modification of the dedicated bearer, such that any additional EPS bearer is established to the same public data network or packet data network. So in the dedicated bearer, an additional EPS bearer that is established to the same PDN is referred to as dedicated bearer. So the protocol or the core network handles the establishment and modification of the dedicated bearer. Next we'll move into the LTE protocol architecture. So the protocol architecture in LTE is mainly between the user equipment and the core network. It is mainly divided into user plane protocol stack as well as control plane protocol stack. So which you can see in the figure. So this particular figure, it is user plane protocol stack. So the user plane protocol stack is mainly responsible for transporting IP packets carrying application specific data from the PDN gateway, that is this one, packet data network gateway, to the user equipment, that is from here to here. This is mainly done by encapsulating the IP packets in a evolved packet core network with respect to specific protocols, using those protocols and then tunneling them from the PDN gateway to the eNode B, that is this, using the GPRS tunneling protocol, that is GTP. You can see here GTPU. So using this GPRS tunneling protocol, we are tunneling from the PDN gateway to the eNode B. From the eNode B, the packets are transported to the user equipment using the packet data convergence protocol, which is called as PDCP. On the other hand, if you want to see, so this is user plane protocol stack. So we'll be mainly mainly the user is responsible for transporting IP packets from the PDN gateway to the user equipment. So whenever you are transporting it, first you have to encapsulate the IP packets in the EPC, that is Evolved Packet Core Network, using specific protocol. Then you have to tunnel them from PDN gateway to the eNode, which is mainly done using GPRS tunneling network or protocol. Then from eNode you are transporting it to user equipment using PDCP, that is Packet Data Control Protocol. Whereas if we come for this is the same thing which I have told you. So user plane is mainly responsible for transporting IP packets carrying application specific data from PDN gateway to user equipment. So this is mainly done by encapsulating the IP packets in an evolved packet core specific protocol, tunneling them from PDN gateway to the eNode using the GPRS tunneling protocol. Then from the eNode packets, the eNode B, the packets are transported to the user equipment using PDCP protocol. So next will be the control plane protocol stack. So this is a figure of the control plane protocol stack. Here the control plane is used for transporting signaling between mobility management entity and the user equipment. There it was PDN network and the user equipment. Here it is mobility management entity and the user equipment. So the type of signaling handled over the control plane is mainly related to here. One will be with respect to bearer management, another one will be with respect to quality of service management, and one more will be with respect to mobility management, including functions such as handover as well as the paging. So in LTE, layer 2 of the protocol stack is split into following sub-layers. So the sub-layers are called as medium access control, that is MAC. One more is radio link control, that is RLC, and another one is PDCP, that is Packet Data Convergence Protocol. So in case of the layer 2 structure, which is mainly used for the downlink, so this is how the figure looks like for a layer 2 protocol structure, which is mainly used for downlink. So here the radio bearers which we use, those are mainly mapped for logical channels through PDCP protocol as well as the RLC sublayers. So you can see here, this is the radio bearer. So radio bearers are mapped to the logical channels using this PDCP as well as the RLC sublayers. The service access point or SAP is between the physical layer and the MAC layer. That will be for SAP, that is service access point. The MAC sublayer provides the transport channel that are used by the physical layer. Mainly it will provide the services to the MAC layer. So this is it. The service access point between the physical layer and the MAC sublayer, it will provide the transport channels that are used by the physical layer to provide the services to MAC. So the SAP between the MAC layer and RLC sublayer, this will mainly provide the logical channels that are used by the MAC layer to provide the services to the RLC layer. So one RLC and PDCP entity per radio bearer in the user equipment and the eNode B. So MAC layer multiplexes the data and control information from all the radio bearers to the user equipment and the eNode. That means MAC layer will multiplex several logical channels on the same transport channel. That is how the LTE will work for the downlink. Now moving on to next, that is PDCP overview. So before going into that, if you can consider WCDMA and RLC and PDCP entities, which are mainly used for the radio network controller, whereas the MAC entity is either in the node B or it is in the RNC. So in LTE, whatever the entities you take, those are contained in the E node. Moving on to PDCP, that is Packet Data Convergence Protocol or PDCP overview. So this PDCP entity is mainly associated either with a control plane or with the user plane, mainly depending on which the radio bearer is carrying the data for. For example, or if we consider each radio bearer, it is associated with one PDCP entity, and each PDCP entity is associated with one or two RLC entities depending on the radio bearer characteristic, that is either unidirectional or bidirectional and the RLC mode. So this PDCP is mainly used for radio bearers mapped on DCCH and DTCH types of logical channel, that is the downlink channel. So the main services and the functions of this PDCP sublayer for the user plane and control plane is shown in the figure. So this is for the user plane. This is PDCP functions for the user plane as well as the control plane. Now we have to see in detail how it is for each, for user plane as well as for the control plane. So functions of PDCP sublayer for the user plane. So this the same figure. So if we consider for user plane, header compression and decompression of IP data flows with the robust header compression protocol, that is ROHC. So whenever we consider this user plane, header compression and decompression of the IP Internet Protocol data flows with a robust header compression protocol, ROHC. Similarly, the second thing is ciphering and deciphering of the user plane data. The third concept which is coming in this is buffering. One more is in sequence delivery and reordering of upper layer packet data unit at the handover. So this is the sequence delivery and reordering which happens during the handover process. Fourth is buffering and forwarding of upper layer PDU from the serving E node B to the target E node B during the handover. The last one what we have is timer based discarding of SDU in the uplink. So this is the user plane. The first thing what we do is we use this PDCP SAP for the using a robust header compression protocol. Then we do the sequence numbering using either delivery or reordering is done with the upper layer PDUs. Then header compression is done. After header compression and decompression using this ROHC protocol, ciphering and deciphering of the user plane data. After that we are doing buffering or forwarding of this upper layer PDUs for the serving E node B to the target E node B during the handover. Last is using this PDCP header, the time-based discarding of SDUs which will be done in the uplink. That is the function for the user plane. Similarly, if we consider functions of PDCP sublayer for the control plane, here the first thing what we do is ciphering and deciphering of the control plane data, then integrity protection and integrity verification of control plane data, then transfer of control plane data. So these are the three things which will be done for the control plane. So here the PDCP datas or PDUs can be divided into two categories, that is PDCP data PDU. Now this is used for both for the control as well as user plane to transport higher layer packets. This is mainly used to convey either user plane data containing a compressed or uncompressed IP packet or control plane data containing one RRC message and a message authentication code for integrity, which is MAC1, field for integrity protection. So this is the main use of PDCP data PDU. second type which we have in this PDCP PDUs are, that is PDCP PDUs, which is PDCP for control. Initial one which we had was for data. Second one is for control. This is mainly used only within the user plane to convey a PDCP status report during handover and feedback information for header compression. So it mainly carries the peer-to-peer signaling between the PDCP entities at two ends. It doesn't carry higher layer SDUs. Or if I say unlike PDCP data in the PDU, the PDCP control PDU does not carry any information about higher layer SDUs, but it will be used for peer-to-peer signaling between PDCP entities at both ends. So here the construction of the PDCP data PDU formats from PDCP SDU, that is, this is for data, this is for control, for the user plane and the control plane, which is mainly shown in the figure, that is PDCP data PDU formats for user plane and the control plane. So this is the construction of PDCP data PDU formats. So the various types of PDCP PDU carried on user and data plane. There are three different types of PDCP data PDUs which has been distinguished. So you can see it in the table. So there are three types of PDCP data types PDUs distinguished by length of the sequence number. So here the PDCP sequence number is used to provide the robustness which is against packet loss and to mainly guarantee sequential delivery at the receiver. So the PDCP data PDU with a long sequence number. So you can see here there are three different types of PDCPs. User plane PDCP data PDU, control plane PDCP data, PDCP control PDU for ROHC feedback, other one is PDCP status report. So based on mainly the sequence length, this is 12 bit, 7 bit, 5 bit, this is not applicable. Now there are some certain RLC modes which are applicable, which is given AM bar UM, AM bar UM, AM bar RM and AM. So this PDCP sequence number is mainly used to provide the robustness, as well as this PDCP data PDU with the long sequence number is mainly used for UM and AM, that is unacknowledged mode or acknowledged mode. And the PDCP data PDU which are with a short sequence number is mainly used for TM, that is transparent mode. So besides this, if we consider the sequence number field and the cipher data, the PDCP data PDU for the user plane contains a D bar C field, that is to distinguish data as well as the control plane. So here whenever we consider this PDCP protocol, there is a user plane which will contain a D bar C field. So this D bar C field is mainly used to distinguish data and control PDUs. So this is mainly required since PDCP data PDU can carry both user plane and the control plane data. And also the PDCP data PDU for the control plane, which will mainly consist a MAC1 field of 32 bits, that is nothing but message authentic code which is used for integrity, that is called as MAC1, or MAC-I field which is of 32 bits for integrity protection. So next we need to see after this. So this is the overview of the PDCP. Next in this we will be seeing in the PDCP protocol header compression, integrity and ciphering, which are mainly performed by the PDCP. So you had seen in the block diagram at that time the user plane. So we had that initially user plane data, initial data is taken in the D bar C field, then it will be ciphered. So we need to study about the header compression, then integrity as well as the ciphering data. So this is actually the D bar C field which I have told you. So this is the user plane which will contain the D bar C field, which will mainly distinguish which is the user and or which will distinguish data and the control PDUs. So this D bar C field is mainly required since The PDCP data and the PDU can carry both user plane as well as the control plane. So after using this DBAR-C, the data is ciphered here, initial data. So first we need to know about header compression. After knowing header compression, we'll study what is actually integrity, and then we'll study what is actually ciphering. Then how actually this header compression, integrity and ciphering are performed by the PDCP protocol entity. So tomorrow we'll look into header compression. Thank you.